What if the person you once trusted most suddenly reappears in your life, but this time they're holding all the cards? What if every glance, every word hides a secret, and a single text message warns you, be careful, he's not who you think he is? Would you confront the truth, or risk falling for the enemy again? Hello, my name is Mia and I'm 24 years old. I was born and raised in a small town. My family's always been very close knit, and I've always felt safe in their love and support. I grew up with my parents, 2 brothers and a little sister. We didn't have much, but we always had enough. Life wasn't perfect, but it was ours, and I loved it that way. I work as a graphic designer now, living in the city, where things feel a bit more hectic. I've always loved art, and I felt so lucky when I landed a job in a creative field. But something in me always longed for a bit more excitement in my life. Something unexpected. Little did I know, the unexpected was about to find me, and it would change everything. It started on a regular Monday morning when I walked into work like any other day. But that morning felt different. There was an energy in the office, an unease that I couldn't explain. I sat at my desk, booting up my computer, when my boss, Mr. Cole, called me into his office. He had a serious expression on his face as he looked up from his desk. "Mia, I need to talk to you about something important," he said. Before I could respond, he continued. "We've been approached by a competitor. A company called Triton Designs wants to partner with us. Their lead designer is someone you've worked with before. Ethan Winters." My heart skipped a beat. Ethan. I hadn't heard that name in years. We were once close, very close, back in college. We shared ideas, dreams, and even a few late-night talks about the future. But after a falling out over a project, we hadn't spoken since. "Is this some kind of joke?" I asked, trying to mask the shock in my voice. Mr. Cole shook his head. "I wish it were. They're offering a lucrative deal, Mia. It could change everything for us. But you need to be ready. Ethan will be here tomorrow to discuss the details." The mention of Ethan's name stirred something in me I hadn't expected. Old memories, unfinished business, and a sense of dread. It wasn't just about the job anymore. It was about confronting my past. The next day, Ethan walked into the office, and for a moment, it felt like time stood still. He was the same, yet different. The same sharp features, the same confident stride, but there was a coldness in his eyes now that I hadn't seen before. "Mia," he greeted me with a forced smile. "It's been a long time." "Yeah, it has," I replied, keeping my distance, my mind racing. We sat down in the meeting room, and he laid out the details of the partnership. But all I could focus on was how it felt to be in the same room as him again. The chemistry we once shared seemed to have evaporated, replaced by something more complicated. Presentiment, maybe. Or was it regret? As the meeting went on, I could feel the tension building. I wanted to scream at him, to ask why he had disappeared without a word all those years ago. But I stayed silent. This was business. I had to keep it professional. But when he looked at me, his gaze seemed to linger longer than necessary, and I couldn't help but wonder, was there still something between us, or was I just imagining it? Later that day I received a text from an unknown number. The message was short and to the point. "I know you're meeting with Ethan. Be careful, he's not who you think he is." I stared at the screen, my pulse quickening. Who could this be? And what did they mean by that? I decided to ignore it at first, but the message gnawed at me. I found myself wondering if Ethan was really as trustworthy as he seemed. The last time we'd worked together, he had been underhanded, using tactics that I didn't agree with. Could he have changed? Or was he still the same ambitious, calculating person I once knew? Then, just when I thought I had everything under control, I walked into the office the next morning to find that the deal with Triton Designs was no longer just a proposal. Mr. Cole had already signed it. Ethan had secured the partnership without my knowledge. My gut twisted in disbelief. I confronted Ethan about it, my voice trembling with anger. "How could you sign the deal without consulting me? We're supposed to be a team." He looked at me with a calmness that only made me more furious. "Mia, this isn't personal, it's business." But as I stared into his eyes, I could see a flicker of something more, something that didn't feel like business at all. He wasn't just trying to work with me, he was trying to control me, to manipulate the situation in a way that benefited him alone. I went home that night feeling overwhelmed. It wasn't just the deal that hurt. It was the betrayal, the way he had slipped back into my life without any warning, pretending everything was fine. I couldn't stop thinking about the text. Who had sent it? And why had Ethan's behavior been so different than I remembered? I paced around my apartment, angry with myself for letting my emotions get in the way of my work. But I couldn't ignore it anymore. I cared about him. I always had. Despite everything, despite the past, there was a part of me that still felt connected to him. Tears welled up in my eyes as I thought about all the things we'd been through, the laughs, the late-night talks, the dreams we'd shared. How had we ended up like this? How had I fallen for someone who could hurt me so easily? I was confused and scared. My heart and my head were at war, and I didn't know which side to choose. The next morning I spoke to my best friend Lily. I needed someone to talk to, someone who could offer some clarity. "Mia, I don't like the way this situation is making you feel," Lily said, concern written all over her face. "You've worked too hard for this job to let him control you. You need to stay focused." But it wasn't that simple. It wasn't just about the job anymore. It was about me, my heart, my emotions, my ability to trust again. And it was also about my family, who had always supported me through everything. I couldn't just ignore the fact that this situation was starting to tear me apart inside. I knew Lily was right. I couldn't let Ethan's presence in my life ruin everything I'd worked for. But the more I tried to ignore the feelings he stirred in me, the more powerful they became. And so there I was, caught between the past and the present, between what was and what could have been. I didn't know how things would end, or if they would even end at all. Would I continue working with Ethan? Could I trust him again? Or would I have to walk away from everything, including the feelings I still had for him? All I knew was that I couldn't stay in this limbo forever. I had to make a decision, but as I stood there facing the uncertain future, I realized that sometimes the hardest decisions aren't about choosing between right and wrong. They're about choosing between what you want and what you need. What would you do if you were in my shoes? Would you forgive the person who betrayed you, or would you walk away? Leave a comment below with your thoughts, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this.